All right, so on Sunday, we've got a gigantic game for your Seattle Seahawks. They are taking on the New Orleans Saints in Lumen. And look, I understand that you're a 7.5-point favorite in this game, but that doesn't mean that you can just walk into this game against the Saints and be lackadaisical. You need to be ready and firing on all cylinders. I'm not just talking to the players. I'm talking to you, the 12s. We cannot let happen what happened last year when we played the New York Giants. The Seahawks just weren't ready for prime time. They were not fired up, not ready to go, and it showed on the field. The Seahawks need to be ready, and if they come out and play the way that we know they can, I think they're going to dominate, and I mean dominate the Saints later on today. And the best way for the Seahawks to do that is to make sure that they don't, and I mean they don't, overlook an opponent. Now, you're going to want to make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. You're going to want to make sure that you like this video so that way you can see why the Seahawks are going to dominate the Saints. And I'm not going to start this video until you go and click on that thumbs up button. I'm waiting. All right, that first reason why, thank you for liking the video as well. The first reason why the Seahawks are going to win is because of this defensive line. Right now, I would make the argument that you have the best defensive line in the NFL. They are playing with their hair on fire and playing as dominant freaks. I got Byron Murphy right now up on the screen, and that's because he's playing and performing at the level that we all knew he finally could. After you went out and you signed him last year in that draft, you made sure you brought Byron Murphy in from Texas. He was supposed to be a star, hadn't hit that quite yet. But then I think he learned from this guy that we're pulling up right now, and he has taken that next step forward. Leonard Williams was your superstar week one. He had 7 tackles, but more important to me are those QB hits and those pressures. Yes, he wasn't able to get a sack on Brock Purdy, but he was constantly in the backfield. He was constantly making Brock Purdy sweat. He didn't let him feel comfortable in the pocket, and that's why you saw the 49ers stick to that 17-point total, because this secondary had time to stick to those wide receivers. In the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I already shouted him out. He was your MVP. That's Byron Murphy II. 1.5 sacks. In my eyes, he shouldn't have had that as a half sack. It should have been a full sack all by himself. And when you're getting pressure from the middle of your defensive line, it makes everything else easier because now teams have to double Byron Murphy. They can't double your guys on the edge. They can't double Jaron Reed. They can't double Leonard Williams, and they can come free one-on-one. Leonard Williams has shown that when he comes free off of that outside, he's going to hit home every single freaking time. Byron Murphy has made this defensive line elite, not by the addition of him simply, but because of the way that he has taken a gigantic step forward in that year 1 to year 2. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I just went on a good 2 to 3 minute run there where I'm hyping up our boys on the interior defensive line. I haven't even gotten a chance to talk about our edge rushers. And I'll tell you right now, DeMarcus Lawrence is having maybe the quietest, best year from an edge rusher. And you might be saying to yourself, Will, what does that mean? Well, right now, DeMarcus Lawrence, he's almost double-digit tackle numbers. He has caused so many more because he has forced runners on other teams to cut back inside when they want to run on the outside. DeMarcus Lawrence has not let runners like Christian McCaffrey, like Warren from Pittsburgh, get that outside, forcing everyone back into Ernest Jones, into Tyrese Knight, into Byron Murphy, into Jaron Reed. And the Seahawks have been that much better because of it. Yes, he doesn't have a sack on the year yet, and I think that's why most people talk about those edge rushers of, hey, you need to come in and get sacks. Right now, the way he's playing, DeMarcus Lawrence doesn't need to get any sacks because he's freeing things up for everybody else. And DeMarcus Lawrence is just the tip of the iceberg of what this defensive front can be on that edge rush side. Boye Mafe right now, he doesn't have a sack. He's getting in the backfield every single freaking play that he's out there. He's one of the top guys in the NFL when it comes to pass rush win rates. And that's a fancy nerd stat for telling you offensive linemen, they just can't block him. Derek Hall has as many pressures right now as Byron Murphy, and Byron Murphy is one of the top pressure guys in the NFL. In fact, guess what these three guys have in common? Derek Hall, Byron Murphy, Micah freaking Parsons. They all three have the same amount of pressures on the season. If this Seahawks defensive front seven, defensive line can continue to dominate the Saints, they are going to win this game because everything gets miles and miles easier when your defensive line is making plays. I had an old coach that used to tell me this back in the day, Coach Fisk. You are okay with linebackers making tackles because linebackers just make tackles. They make tackles all the time. It's 2-3 yard gain. When a defensive lineman makes a tackle, 9 times out of 10, that's a tackle in the backfield, and that's a tackle for a loss. Those are drive killers. This defensive line, they keep playing the way we know they can. Watch out. I think you're dominating the Saints on Sunday. Offensive line is my next group to watch and why Seattle is going to dominate on Sunday. Later on today, I keep saying Sunday. Silly me. This offensive line makes everything go. And for the best way for them to put you in that spot is to let them run the freaking ball. You found their identity. I know it's not a shock. The former offensive lineman wants to talk about offensive line play. But when you run the football as an offensive line, it stops the other teams from being able to pin their ears back and rush the passer. It also allows your running back to gain confidence. We saw what Kenneth Walker looks like when he's not confident. When he was not confident against the 49ers, he was barely averaging 2 yards a carry. Frankly, if you ask me, he was having a horrific game. A game to the point where I was saying, hey, it should be Zach Charbonnet getting all the touches because Zach Charbonnet actually looked halfway decent. Now, obviously, there was some egg on my face, the way that Kenneth Walker came out and performed against the Steelers. That 8.1 yards per average, that doesn't tell the real story because in the second half, guess what? He was averaging just under 10 yards a touch, and most of those were coming from the left side. I think what this offensive line showed in that second half against Pittsburgh to OC Clint Kubiak and the rest of that crew, they showed that if you run the football effectively, this is going to be the peak of what this team can be. You dominated Pittsburgh, and it opened up the passing game for Sam Darnold. When you look at his negative stats from last week, those 2 interceptions, guess where they came in? They came early in the game. They came in the first half. They didn't come in the second half when you were running the football all over this Pittsburgh team. When Pittsburgh had to load the box. When Pittsburgh had to leave guys like Torrey Horton, Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Ever heard of them? Ever heard of Cooper Kupp? When you had to leave those guys one-on-one and they got open, they made big-time plays. That's when Sam Darnold stopped making the mistakes. That's when Sam Darnold threw for almost 300 yards in that game. Trust the offense that you built. We saw you build this offense in the preseason. Against the 49ers, you didn't lean on that offensive line. And frankly, it cost you a game. If you lean on that offensive line against the New Orleans Saints on Sunday, you're going to be pretty darn happy with how that game turns out. Now, I want to talk about my last couple of reasons why you're going to dominate. But first, I got to talk to you about today's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on any 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if your picks are right, you could cash in. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. I was playing Prize Picks this weekend. Should have used that flex play option, just saying. Got a 3-pick power play for this Sunday. Julian Love going against that vaunted Cleveland Browns defense. More than 232.5 passing yards. Matthew Stafford, boo the Rams. Less than 245.5 passing yards. Sam Darnold, our Sam Darnold, more than 212.5 passing yards. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Now, that third reason why I have your team being dominant is the turnovers. If you are able to go out and turn over this New Orleans Saints team, you are going to win the game. And I know that a lot of people are saying, well, no duh. 75% of the time or whatever the number is, it's right around that 75% mark in the NFL that you win the turnover battle, you win the football game. Well, here's the thing. Kellen Moore's got Spencer Rattler playing pretty freaking smart. New Orleans has not had an intercepted pass this season. And that's frankly from good coaching from Kellen Moore, but it's also because Spencer Rattler's been very good at making sure he doesn't throw interceptions, not putting the ball in harm's way. Is some of that because he's not really testing the ball downfield? Is that because he's not trusting his receivers to go and make plays? Yeah, a little bit. He's making sure that he makes a smart play, not taking the big gamble, trying to put themselves in a position to win games, but he's also not losing them games. This is the week that it changes. If you have the defensive line that's in the backfield all the time, making him throw off his back foot, making his timing with his normal receivers, tight ends, a little bit off, not allowing him to get the ball to Chris Olave, then this secondary can go and make big-time plays. Julian Love, he's already forced a turnover. I think that he can force another as well. We're not talking enough about this cornerback group when it comes to how well they've been playing. And some of it is because, well, you haven't had Devin Witherspoon. He's been hurt. He's been out. And so, there's more of a concern there. Josh Jobe has been one of the best corners in all of football this year. Reek Woolen, he had a bad drive, a really bad drive. He came back and stepped up and really made a name for himself when he was going up against DK Metcalf on Sunday. Darian Kendrick got some time as that third nickel. Wow, oh wow, was I impressed. One interception, should have had two if he doesn't try to catch the ball with his face mask. I think this secondary can get after them. When you look at the safeties, Julian Love has already been making plays. Shoot, we know he's going to make a ton of plays. Kobe Bryant had a game-sealing interception in this game. Gigantic deal. Go and take some risks. When you have an opportunity in this secondary group, if there's a 50-50 ball, go for it. Go and make a play. We've seen what happens when you're passive. Look at what happened to Reek Woolen against the 49ers. He took a sack. He didn't jump up for the ball. He tried to let the ball come to him. You know what Kobe Bryant did? When that ball was thrown up, he went for it. He tried to go get it. Your teammates are there to back you up. They're so fast. They're always in the right spot. This defense does not mess up because Coach Mike McDonald has drilled into them where they need to be, what their job is, and what their assignment is. So when I look at this team and I look at this secondary specifically, I'm asking them, no, I'm telling them, go take risks because Spencer Rattler isn't going to take those risks. Go and make plays. Go get turnovers. If you turn this New Orleans Saints team over, they will lose this game. They're bad on third down. They are bad at killing themselves with penalties. You add in that third big killer of turnovers, you're going to be pretty darn happy about when you can turn the channel on the Seahawks game because it'll be over in the third quarter. The last reason why the Seahawks are going to win is because of you, because of me, maybe even because of producer AC. And the reason is the 12s are the best fan base in all of the NFL. The entire league, we are the best. And we haven't been the best since Coach Mike McDonald came in. Being 3-7 at Lumen Field is not good enough. And it's not just all on head coach Mike McDonald. It's not all just on the players. It's on us. We have to look inward. We have to do our part. I remember going to a game when I was in middle school. It was, that really bad Jim Mora year. Matt Hasselbeck was the quarterback, I believe still. I don't think he'd moved on to Tavares Jackson, although maybe you had. TJ Hujmanzada was there because Mora stole his Rolex or whatever the deal was. The team was horrible. No good. There's a reason why he got ran out of town that year. But it was still loud in Lumen. It caused multiple penalties. They still throw the tracker up on the Jumbotron. Hey, this is how many penalties we've caused. Here's the rest of the league. You're the first stadium that ever had an earthquake because fans were cheering so dang hard. And that was against these New Orleans Saints. You can do that again. We can do that again. So make sure that you get it loud. Make sure that you get it rocking. Make sure that we do our part because 3-7 isn't good enough anymore. I'm trying to go 1-0, and that's because of the fans. These are my 4 reasons why the Seahawks are going to dominate the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. In fact, later on today. You need to dominate, and I think that you can. Do not miss our watch party. We're going to be live an hour before the game. Come and join us if you can't be one of those loud rockin' 12s. I know that you want to be, but sometimes you can't make it to a game. You can make it to this watch party. It's free of charge. All you got to do is click on that video. So make sure that you join us. And thank you so much for viewing today's video.